Hey y'all, it's day 7 of Psychedelic Week. We're capping off our celebrations with Cosmic Perspective Day. I think it also pairs extremely well with the fact that we'll be talking about the crown chakra, our connection to the cosmos. So I'm wearing this hat to depict my crown chakra. For most of human history, our species has imagined itself at the center of all the action. The world was the center of the universe, and we're all the main characters of the movie playing out here on planet Earth. People thought the sun and stars revolved around us. Copernicus came around nearly 500 years ago and changed our view of the cosmos, although it took about 100 years for his ideas to be adopted. Then we discovered we live in a galaxy, a giant island of stars, and our solar system is just one grain of sand on its shores. In 1924, Edwin Hubble settled a debate about this blob that they were looking at in the sky. He said that the Andromeda object they had been looking at was actually another galaxy, and that the universe was full of galaxies. Our perception of how vast the universe is multiplied by a staggering amount. Estimates continue to change as the science and technology improves, but there are definitely at least 200 billion galaxies in our universe, each one of them with anywhere from 100,000 to billions of stars. Some of the largest galaxies have 2 trillion stars in just one galaxy. The story of humanity's place in the universe in the last 500 years has put us in our place so much that it's almost hilarious. We went from being the center of the entire universe to being a speck of a speck of a speck. And that's not to completely buy into the idea that we're insignificant. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, when he thinks about the fact that our bodies and the atoms that make us were forged in the crucible of ancient stars, that doesn't make us small, that makes us huge. We are a part of this giant cosmos. And that's a lesson that psychedelics teach us as well, that we are one contiguous whole with this entire cosmos. So we are just as large as it is. We are literally stardust that has become self-aware. What a crazy situation to find ourselves in. We evolved from molecules to simple organisms to animals to apes and to humans, and now we're this kind of special, smart, hairless ape. Our journey goes back billions of years to the birth of the universe, and that's no small feat. As far as we can see, it's not extremely common for life to form and to become intelligent. Nothing helps us appreciate the cosmic perspective more than listening to the words of Carl Sagan. So let's watch this clip of him reminding us the power of the cosmic perspective.
That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, Our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experience. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the pale blue dot, the only home we've ever known.
An interesting thing happens to a lot of astronauts who go into space, especially when they see the Earth from space. They call it the overview effect, which is basically like getting slapped in the face with cosmic perspective. It makes them appreciate the Earth and realize how special and fragile it is, and how foolish it is that we humans fight and fight over control over a fraction of a dot.
I had completed my major task for going to the moon and was on the way home. Observing the passing of the heavens as we were rotating. The Earth, the Sun, the Moon, and a 360-degree panorama of the heavens. The magnificence of all of this. All matter in our universe is created in star systems. And so the matter in my body and the matter in the spacecraft and the matter in my partner's bodies was the product of stars. We are stardust, and we're all one in that sense. It triggered this experience of saying, wow, those are my stars, my body's connected to those stars. And it was accompanied with a deep ecstatic experience, which continued every time I looked out the window all the way home. And it was
so this wasn't an intellectual insight, but a full body experience.
It was a whole body experience. And when I got home, I wanted to find out what did this mean. I'd never had such an experience. So I started digging through the science literature, and I couldn't find anything. And so then I appealed to some anthropologists over at Rice University near the Space Center. Said, please help me try to understand what was going on here. And so they came back to me a short time later and pointed out to me in the Sanskrit what's called samadhi, which is an experience of seeing things in their separateness, but you experience them as a unity accompanied by ecstasy. And I said, well, yes, that's exactly the type of experience that I had. And thus I continued my research after that, and I came to realize that in virtually every culture of the world, and notably in the Greek culture, there's some similar type of experience, what I call the big picture effect. In other words, you see things in a larger context than you saw them before, and that tends to expand your awareness, and you try to fill in some of the blanks because you're seeing a larger picture than you ever saw before.
I think it's possible to stretch our imaginations to imagine the size of the galaxies and beyond. But one of the things that happened to me during my acid trip that I keep talking about was I felt my consciousness expand to the size of the larger cosmos. I felt one with the universe, and I actually felt the immensity of space. I could feel how we were just the blossoming fruit on the tree of evolution, and the world was continuing to turn just as it has for billions of years. This spacey feeling stayed with me for a while, and it inspired me. Sometimes psychedelics get me back to that cosmic feeling. I feel the vastness and the mystery and wonder of it all. I feel like this psychedelic cosmic consciousness and the cosmic perspective are in line with each other. It reminds me of the name of Joseph Campbell's last book, The Inner Reaches of Outer Space. The inner world is a vast universe of its own. It's a mystery tucked within a mystery. Also, it's so strange how this is how our universe is arranged. Stars, planets, galaxies, black holes. What? But here we are, the current crew of Spaceship Earth. But let's do our part to take care of the planet and each other, in the hopes that we pass it on a little better to the next generation. For the 7th day of Psychedelic Week, we'll be focusing on the crown chakra. This chakra is located on the top of your head, a little towards the back. Some people say this chakra is actually outside of the body, right here above the head. It's kind of like the funnel or the goblet that collects the cosmic energy that does go into us. This is the final chakra, so it's associated with being a connection to the source of creation. Just like how in the first video I was talking about the root chakra is the masculine energy rising up the spine, this is where the feminine energy of potential and creation come down into your crown. The crossing and uniting of these two currents is Kundalini energy. It's associated with the higher self and enlightenment. I believe that you can have an open crown chakra without necessarily being enlightened. The Hindu name for the crown chakra means 1,000-petaled lotus. It reminds me of those psychedelic mosques in Iran and depiction of the DMT dome space. I have noticed energy in this particular center. After my Kundalini experience, I was playing guitar one time. I would improvise and create music on the spot. One time when I was high and jamming, I felt this little tingle in my head. My head began to swirl around and around, and kind of my spine with it, like this. It was super subtle and it felt like I wasn't controlling it. Then I realized it felt like the music was being downloaded from above and that it was coming through this drain on the top of my head and then coming out through my hands and being expressed in the real world. I only really feel aware of this chakra when I'm in the peak of a psychedelic experience or if everything else is feeling balanced. I do a guided Kundalini meditation and she actually starts not from the root, but she starts from the crown and works her way down. I found that this is actually a really good way to do it if you practice Kundalini. It also makes sense because a lot of us are already living from this mental space in our head. We identify with the driver behind our eyeballs. Our center of consciousness is already in the head. Carl Jung actually suggested that Westerners practice Kundalini from the top down in this way because of this. But I would suggest making sure that you're rooted first, because in my experience, I was blasted into cosmic consciousness, but I didn't have the proper foundation and root to keep me grounded. So I got the cosmic stuff, but it came at a cost. It was only because I integrated my Kundalini practice and stopped tripping so frequently that I could ground myself and pull it together. Meditation and sound meditation are the best way to balance this chakra, but like I said, you want to make sure everything else is feeling balanced. I'll link the sound meditation that I use and I'll be doing that one with you today. Well guys, that was a blast. If you missed any of the days on Psychedelic Week, I got the playlist full of them here. I really enjoyed sharing all of these ideas and thoughts with you, so I hope you enjoyed it. I'm probably going to take a couple weeks to rest and focus on music since I basically just did a marathon of 8 videos in a row. I would love to know your thoughts and which theme for Psychedelic Day was your favorite, or any of your thoughts on chakras. I got a comment saying they felt like their solar plexus was blocked. I'd love to hear any thoughts on this that y'all have. Thanks to everyone who watches and supports the channel and comments and likes the videos. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation in the comments or join our Discord server. You never know what wonderful other you may meet. Cheers, fellow travelers, and peace.